All right, Jenny, you're going to give me another "we're live." Oh, there it is. Hello, hello, Rochester. Hello, Image Out fans. I'm Becky Wiggins. I am the assistant editor of ImageOutWrite, and I am a longtime lover of the literary arts and a mega fan of the ImageOutWrite or the Image Out Film Festival. And I'm very honored to be serving as your MC tonight for our very first ever ImageOutWrite Read Out. And I have a couple of things to go over and a lot of thank yous to pass around. And then in a couple of minutes, I'll introduce to you this amazing panel that we've got tonight of writers who have been published in our former volumes. I really want to say that I'm so proud to have been brought onto this team and to be working on the editing team to produce such a fine literary journal. I definitely want to thank Jonelle Torreseva, this year's editor, Jessica Heatley, who is our former editor, and without whom we would never have been able to put this together as we're working through. We just put together our packet. Our reading committee is reading for this year's, our volume 9, 2020 edition. Even under duress and COVID extenuating circumstances, we've been able to put together what I think is going to be just another stellar volume of queer writing that you will enjoy. Here we are at our first read out, and we're welcoming writers that are actually from all over the world tonight. And it's pretty exciting that here in Rochester, the Image Out Film Festival that supports the ImageOutWrite LGBTQ journal is actually an international literary journal. It's very exciting. We are always so impressed and honored with the submissions that we get. Our journal showcases very talented queer writers and offers a wide range of literature. We have prose, poetry, and drama in the magazine. I wanted to say that we really are overwhelmed with the support that we've gotten for this event, and also the sort of unprecedented interest we did not expect. We put out a call to see if any of the former writers would be willing to come and do a reading, and we had so much interest that we actually turned it into a series. So the readout is going to be a 4-month series, and I just want to let you know that you can expect our next panel of amazing authors on August 13th. So be sure to put that in your calendar and join us again next month for another representation of some of the other talented writers from other volumes of ImageOutWrite. I also want to thank the ImageOutWrite board for their support, and particularly Jenny Werner, without whom this event literally would not be happening. She is amazing. She has been ironing out all of the details behind the scenes, the tech details. She and I never even really worked through all of this tech and the logistics of this. And we had never done these things before yesterday and the day before trying to work this out. So we hope that things go pretty smoothly tonight so that we can get out of the way of the real talent here, who I will introduce momentarily. As you see around the screen, we have 6 readers tonight, and we also have some talented interpreters who are helping us this evening so that we can offer this event to everyone. And I just want to quickly go around, introduce everyone, and then what we're going to do is they will each kind of mute their screens, and you'll get to just see the writer who's delivering his or her piece. They're each going to do about a 5 to 7 minute excerpt from a piece of their work, not necessarily a work that was published in one of our volumes. Some of it's very current that they've been working on. So again, it's really exciting. So as you see them on your, I guess you are seeing them on my screen this way. I'm not sure. Anyway, we've got Mary Panke, we've got Steve Farrington, we've got Craig Kirsch, we've got Jamin Favela, we've got Sari Katharyn, and then we're going to end with Allison Fradkin. And that's the order in which we'll hear from our esteemed writers this evening. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce our first writer, and we'll have a little transition here as we're setting up the screen. And we'll see them all later very soon. Okay, so our first writer and reader of her work tonight will be Mary Panke. Mary Panke reads and writes poetry. She lives with her family near Hartford, Connecticut, and we are thrilled to have her join us tonight. Mary, thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing your work.
Thanks, Becky. Just gonna switch my screen. So I write poetry, and in 2007, my husband of 20 years transitioned to live as her authentic self, a trans woman. So tonight I'm going to read a few poems from a collection that I'm working on that seeks to express my experience of this transformational time in our family's life. And I thank you for listening. The first poem is Grief Shows Up. Grief shows up. First you believe he'll still be your husband, the best of both worlds. Then you realize he's dying and find yourself married to a familiar stranger, like a wary soldier after a war, but you are the soldier, her body, the war. You crave the sweet spice of his skin and bask in the light of her thighs. You close your sleepy eyes to the sounds of his voice and wake in a parallel place where lines curve and nestle and tuck, and grief shows up, wearing dark allegiance to original form. You share space by the fire, tender cups of accord lie down on your arms, and when you are ready, welcome yourself home. To the transgender activist in 2006. To the transgender activist who did or did not once love a wife, who leans in too close to correct me, your husband is now D. Your husband is now she, reminding me the Benjamin Standard palimpsest suggests appendectomy, removal of redundancy, the wifely appendage ever a potential for infection. To you, my presence belies truth, creates barriers to freedom, plays hostile witness to invented past. My inconvenient incongruence gums the mascara and hogs unclaimed closet space. I am the cisgender princess, no dysphoric pain in my labors, and I'll take custody of the kids if I want to. To you, I'm a sofa, an uncomfortable couch that sags from the strain, and you would drag me to the curb because in this transmogrification, the wife is the natural enemy to the herd. Erasable, I am not. I'm the nighttime holder of my lover's hands, a child on each hip, a bulwark to all things bludgeoning. I'm the indelible proof that love does make a family, and a heart takes time to turn. Short one, oil change. Oil change. Larry, our mechanic, the last 20 years, who after 7 cannot pronounce Dahlia's name for some reason, tells her, "It was easier when you were Dave." She laughs, and she tells him, "Not for me." Last one, sheath. The dress drops over her head like she is diving into a pool. First recognition in the mirror, a long, loud O, like oxygen. I square her shoulders and zip up the back, run my hands down her waist, hips, thighs, so pleasing I do it again, like I am swiping away water, clearing away years of ill-fitting clothes in dingy dressing rooms as her body morphed from muscular limbs to tender pillows, rounded and queer. Sheathing unsheathes, brings out the babe in black boots rising up on the balls of her feet, eyes wide, mouth wide. She is a warrior queen. She is Captain Janeway in a dress. And today I am whooping. Today I am wet like water. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much, Mary. That was wonderful. And you may not realize that because you're in Connecticut, but ending with the wetness is completely appropriate since Rochester is drenched in rain at this moment. So I'm sure a lot of our our viewers are identifying with that. Thank you so much for sharing your heartfelt poetry with us from your collection Sheath. We really appreciate it. Our next reader is going to be Steve Farrington. He's going to read from Atlanta, Leonardo da Vinci's Lover. Steve Farrington is a professor of French and Spanish at MCC, and in his spare time, he enjoys travel, running, learning languages, reading, and writing. He's the author of a self-published historical fiction novel, Rodrigo's Land, and his next project is a novel about Leonardo da Vinci. Welcome, Steve. We look forward to hearing your excerpt.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. So yeah, like I say, this is a project I'm working on right now called, this section I'm going to call The Courtier from Vinci, and it's about Leonardo da Vinci. Here goes. It's true what they say. Many handsome and talented men have drifted in and out of my life. I didn't come to be a famous artist overnight, but once I had established myself in Florence and word spread about the kind of man I am, the disciples found me, whether I sought them out or not. One such example is, in fact, one of my favorites, Atalante Miglioretti. He was my enchanting companion for about 10 years and followed me from Tuscany to the court of Milan. I remember well when we first met. I was approaching the age of 30 and was finally making a name for myself. I was in Andrea Verrocchio's workshop, although I had my own workspace by then. If I remember correctly, I was there that day to discuss the effects of light and perspective and how best to design a fresco before setting brush to canvas. I had honed techniques for applying the principles of mathematics for maximum effect that I would later use for the Last Supper in Milan. I was also on my way to gaining expertise in human anatomy and had been doing experiments with several young men, having them stand just so at various times of day while the light entered my studio window at differing angles. Soon after speaking to Verrocchio and a few others, I noticed a shy, handsome boy of perhaps 19 sitting on a bench to my left. He didn't speak, but seemed to watch me as I held forth. I remember thinking that I would very much like to do a study of his face. He had a firm line to his jaw, a slightly jutting chin, a light blonde mustache, curls the way I like, and enchanting dark eyes that held a touch of mischief. I also imagined how the afternoon light might strike what I guessed were nicely formed muscles on a supple body. Yes, I decided I could very much enjoy spending some time with this lad, for the sake of art, of course. After some time, the other artists started to drift back to their projects. Soon I found myself alone with the young man who, despite his poor station in life, wore red hose and a scarlet doublet, the gift, I learned later, of a local bishop whose assistant he had been for some time, until the wagging tongues of Florence forced the older man to end the friendship. Let us not forget, Florence was among the most indulgent places in Christendom, but even she had her limits. Despite the city's tolerance, there was one figure who cast a pall over everyone and everything at that time, Girolamo Savonarola. We all feared no one more than that fanatical Dominican, whose fiery predications still echoed from his cursed pulpit. His reign of terror made even the least sinful of the Tuscan capital quake with fear. Remember that I, too, was once jailed for a note that an anonymous accuser placed in a tombola in the dark of night. I am here to seek help from Verrocchio, the young man explained. I soon learned that his name was Atalante. Like me, he was the fruit of an illegitimate union. His mother had played at trying to outrun the boy's father before allowing herself to be caught as he pursued her among the hedges of an orchard, the gales of laughter causing her almost to lose her voice. She had finally, and against her better judgment, yielded to the handsome courtier in a moment of unbridled lust in a private bedchamber at one of the Medici palazzos, where she had worked as a nurse to Lorenzo the Magnificent. Due to her constant presence at the boy's side, she always heard his tutors drone on and on about the stories of antiquity, and had become, in spite of herself, an educated woman. Thus, when she had her bastard around 1463, she named him after the Greek legend of a maiden who had promised never to marry unless a man could run as swiftly as she. Who said it couldn't be a boy's name as well? However, unlike I, who had been raised with care despite my illegitimate status, Atalante had no such luck. He'd been passed off to poor relations in Fiesole, where he helped his aunt as a cheesemonger in a local market until he escaped to the quarters of Bishop Quadrini, hidden in plain sight as the man's personal valet. My previous protector always liked to hear me sing, the boy said, brushing back one of his blonde curls behind one ear under a red cap. I was hoping that, perhaps, Master Leonardo, you could teach me how to sing properly. As they say, you excel at every art known to man. Well, I don't know if that's true, I began, but the lad looked at me with his soft and knowing brown eyes, which were full of wisdom, even for one so young. Those eyes seemed to say that false modesty was both unnecessary and beneath me. I studied the young man's fine, long fingers. Have you ever considered stroking the lyre? I asked, or perhaps the lute? At this, the boy only smiled. I have never even seen a lyre up close. I wouldn't know where to begin. Why don't you come back with me? I have a lovely one, and I would be happy to teach you. Plus, I could use an assistant if you've nowhere to live, or if you seek employment. This was several years before I met the impish Salai. And while my mind harbored little doubt about what this lad was about, the danger posed by Savonarola and his ilk forced men such as I always to dance around the subject, speaking in fanciful codes and oblique offers that could be rescinded if necessary. Go back with you, the boy said, pausing, appearing to think the matter over for a long moment. Yes, that would be lovely, he finally replied, as if this had been his plan all along. And as far as I know, it had been. I never asked, preferring to think of this as a serendipitous meeting that changed both of our lives forever, for the better, for several years to come. Naturally, the boy became my special friend, and also, of course, my lover. Why deny it? I am an old man, practically on my deathbed, and I hope that Checo will burn these pages, or at least hide them until long after I am gone. Atalante was the perfect companion. For several years, he went everywhere with me. Not only did I teach him all I knew about architecture, anatomy, and mathematics, but also how to read music and how to speak passable Latin and fluent French. Under my tutelage, he learned how to dress, and I taught him how to sing and act properly, how to enchant ladies, and cultivate the favor of powerful men. And of course, I taught him to play both the lute and the lyre. He would accompany me north the following year, and he was quite the success at the Sforza court. Oh yes, the handsome fellow did well by attaching himself to me, if I do say so myself. Thanks a lot, folks.
Steve, thank you so much. That was fantastic. And I'm sure you'll have many people that are viewing. Okay, there, sorry, we're back. I don't know if there were technical issues on your side, there were on my side, sorry about that. So again, thanks to Steve. As I was saying, I think you're gonna have a lot of people following you and looking for your novel on Leonardo da Vinci if you wanna find more about the adventures with the lute and the lyre. And so thank you so much, that was a great passage to share. Our next reader is Craig Kirsch. He will be reading from the L Ride. And let's see, he should be joining us here in a second. There, oh, that might be Mary. Again, a little technical snafu, I think, hold tight. Again, he's reading from The L Ride, Craig Kirsch. His work has appeared in Hair Trigger, Chicago Reader, Stories Teachers Tell, The Buddha Next Door, and ImageOutWrite, Volume 8. He lives in Chicago and is currently working on a book of short stories. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you so much. The story, The L Ride, some of you may know that in Chicago, where the story takes place, the L is what is the term used to describe the public transit system in Chicago, regardless of whether it's underground and it's a subway or whether it's on elevated tracks. The excerpt that I'm going to read takes place on elevated tracks, and it's about maybe like 3/5 into the story. Our narrator is Mitchell, and he's a veteran teacher who travels every day from the north side of Chicago to the far, far, far south side of Chicago. This L ride is his ride home one day. I was smiling, thinking about Marcus's story, but my thoughts were interrupted when, out of nowhere, an elderly Black woman burst into a tirade about the sin of homosexuality and how anyone who did not get right with Jesus was going to go to hell. Her coiffed curly hair and retro glasses brought to mind Shirley Chisholm, but she was wearing a house dress and open heel slippers, which made me wonder if she was AWOL from some care facility. She was a small woman, but had a special talent for projecting her voice. And as she gave her sermon, she clung to her Bible and rocked back and forth like she was possessed by the Holy Spirit. Thou shalt not lie with the man as with the woman. It is an abomination. If thou go against the Bible, if thou go against the teachings of Christ, thou wilt suffer eternal damnation. Oh dear. And just as I was starting to think about having a glass of wine with my best friend Mary, who if she were here would probably beat this proselytizing woman with her own Bible, figuratively speaking, of course, I looked around and people were securing their earbuds or slinking down behind a book or newspaper. Thankfully, we were almost at my stop, so I was just toughing it out. But when we stopped at Addison, a large white man wearing a black t-shirt, black jeans, a black leather jacket, and a big silver nose ring stepped onto the train, and the conductor announced, "This delayed northbound train will be running express to Granville." I couldn't believe it. So close to home, and the universe was introducing yet another obstacle. In the few seconds that I had to decide whether to get off the train or ride to Granville and backtrack, I decided to stay put. I have deboarded trains in situations like this before, only to find myself full of regret. Perhaps that's what gave me pause, or maybe I was intimidated by the full figure leather queen because he was blocking the door and did strike a menacing pose, what with the skull and crossbones, embossed in red on the back of his jacket. When the doors closed and the train pulled out of the station, the woman with the Bible resumed her rant. "The only salvation for those who go against the Lord is to stand up to your desires. But if you fail to mend your ways, you will burn in hell forever and ever and ever." "That's right, sister," the man with the nose ring declared. He was still blocking the door. And I watched as he unsnapped what looked like a holster on his belt and pulled out a Bowie knife, which he held up high and asked, "Anyone here want to test the word of God?" That's when I looked out the window to avoid making eye contact with the ideologue with the 6-inch blade and described the cemetery workers raking leaves and other debris into piles, hoovering them up with a huge hose that was attached to a massive bin on the back of their truck, working real hard to clear off those graves, making things nice and neat for the dead. A chill actually went up my English major, symbol susceptible spine, and I silently cursed myself for the poor decision I had made. 2 stops from home, and I had foolishly stayed on a train that now contained a Jesus freak and a brute wielding a weapon. The whole car had gone stone cold silent. Even the Bible thumper had taken pause. The man with the heart-on for trouble proceeded to brandish his knife. "I know there's all kind of scum on this train," he said as he stopped to look at an attractive young woman who was sitting alone in the middle of the once packed but now only sparsely filled train. We all sat paralyzed. Then once again, the train slowed to a stop and our oblivious conductor announced that we were standing, waiting for signals ahead. My heart ached for the woman who was sitting less than a foot from the blade of a knife. I kept my public gaze out the window, but I also kept the perpetrator in my peripheral vision. I think everyone was doing the same. I was afraid to move, but did reach down to put the folder of student work back into my bag. And as I did, I noticed the man at the opposite end of the car close his book, stand up, and start to speak. His thinning gray hair was pulled back into a man bun, and he wore a simple pair of gold stud earrings and black nail polish. At first, I wasn't sure what he was saying, but when I heard, "Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles," there was no doubt about it. He was reciting Hamlet's to be or not to be speech. The man in black turned towards this two-spirit Shakespearean, and knife at the ready, slowly began to approach him. My heart felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. I don't know what came over me, but I stood up and started a recitation of my own. I did not know Hamlet's speech well enough to join in, but what came out of my mouth was A Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes. The black-clad, nose-ring knife-bearer turned and looked at me from across the car as I recited, "Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet?" Thanks.
Craig, thank you so much. That was fantastic. And you are an incredible reader. I would love to hear you read more of your work. As an English teacher, I can completely identify with all of the situation. And our fans on Facebook are saying in the chat that they've actually met these people on the L train. So I think you really hit home with a few people. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. Thanks again to Craig. Thanks. Okay, our next reader, this has been a stellar night. We still have 3 more entertaining writers for you for tonight. Our next writer is named Jamin Favela. His work appeared in volume 8 of ImageOutWrite, and tonight he will be reading from Smokin' in the Boys' Room. Jamin is a queer Chicano author who is a proud product of the California public school system. He holds an MFA in writing from the University of San Francisco, and he lives in San Francisco. Welcome, Jamin.
Hi, thank you very much. So I am going to be reading from an excerpt from a short story called Smokin' in the Boys' Room. So just to kind of get some housekeeping out of the way to kind of explain the situation. The nameless protagonist and the story itself is more of a sexual awakening, a sexual discovery, and then also to explain a bit of the geography of where we're at. Sacramento, capital of California. Yuba City is about 45 minutes north of Sacramento, smallish city, about 30,000 people at around the time that the story takes place. And then the in between those two is farmland, orchards, fields, all that. And that's pretty much where the story takes place. And then there's also a bit of interiority from the protagonist. And then you'll notice a little bit of change in my tone when I get there. So anyway, so Smokin' in the Boys' Room. When he's older and people ask where he's from, he lies and says Yuba City, better than the truth. The prefabricated housing compound erected for the 100 or so employees of McClellan Produce and their families is situated 30 miles southeast of Yuba City, between where McClellan's cherry orchard ends and the melon field begins. When his parents fill out paperwork for the census, he learns McClellan, population 422, isn't legally a town, but is considered a census-designated place for statistical purposes only. It confuses him. They have a post office and a small town, they have a post office and a town hall and a convenience store that sells, amongst other sundries, produce the residents themselves have harvested, but was deemed too imperfect to send to the distributor. His father works in the fields picking and his mother in the plant sorting. His father stresses a good education so he doesn't have to ruin his back for McClellan, but sometimes he helps during the summer, getting paid for his efforts with whatever cash his father happens to have in his pocket, which is never much. At night is church. It's easy for this to be forced upon him and his younger sister because services are held outside their house. Their father is the pastor. Nightly, he stands under their carport, La Biblia in his hand, La Verdad out of his mouth. Over his head on a plank of wood, the name of the church, La Iglesia de Jesucristo Nuestro Señor. After dinner for 1 hour, sometimes 2, he attends his father's sermons. Other McClellan families join, even some of the Catholics who can't abide the 45-minute drive to St. Isidore's in Yuba City. His father didn't ask permission to preach. Just one Sunday morning, he started to speak and people started to listen. As more and more came to their home asking for advice, requesting his blessing, learning more about La Palabra, his father took it as a signal from the Lord and painted the sign naming his church and blessed the carport as holy. The sermons aren't about hate, but they're not about love either. They're about devotion. All good things come with fervent belief in the Lord and his divine word. His father tells of Job's trials, of Esther's patience, of Abraham's sacrifice. Parables to help his fellow field hands think upon why they endure here in this foreign and unfriendly country, why returning to rural Mexico is never an option. The roads here are paved, the water's clean, their children attend quality schools. Things are better because of their struggle. He gets older and plays in the church's band. He gets older and plays drums in the church's band. His sister gets older too and is allowed to date a boy from their high school. A cute boy, soul patch and black hair dyed even blacker, lives on the nearby airbase, son of a flight operator, a grade behind him, but in his senior level honors English course. Ethan. Their desks face together. Sometimes they're chatty, similar tastes in music, all that. Ethan shares a story about pranking one of his friends by placing a page torn out of a gay porn magazine next to his face when he passes out drunk at a party. Ethan can barely contain his delight at seeing him wake up and freak out at the image of a dick in another dude's mouth. But all he's doing is wondering why Ethan has or can access gay pornography, that he touched it, that he held a gay porn magazine in his hands. He went to a store and bought it. Nowhere in Sutter County sells gay pornography. Believe me, I've looked. So he must have obtained it in Sacramento, or maybe uncovered a secret stash and nabbed it. Either way, he saw a picture of a bare-chested man with a prominent bulge on a magazine cover and thought, this is something I will take. This is something I must have. This is something I want. He's probably had the magazine for months, thumbed through it, read the horny letters at the beginning, then the full photo spreads further in, curious at first, giggles even, but the cocks are so erect in these photos, so veiny and enticing, a little bit of pre-cum beaded here, a little bit of unshaved pubic hair there, and somehow he doesn't feel like burning the magazine like he planned. The butterflies in his stomach telling him to hide it, to keep it under his mattress, and he's at it again late at night after his parents are asleep, looks at the pleasure on the men's faces, ponders the joy, pressing his cock inside the beautiful bubbly ass without a hint of hair, like a chick's ass, man. The dude on the cover kind of looks like Ryan, Ethan's friend on the football team. Maybe that's why he took it those months ago, and maybe that's why he places the torn out page next to Ryan's face while he sleeps. He wants to see cocks in there. He wants to see cocks in Ryan. So he does it to gauge Ryan's reaction to the presence of gay porn. Calm down, bro. It's only a joke. Dude, your face was priceless. You freaked out seeing all those dicks. Wasn't it hilarious? Don't worry. You can get me back whenever you want. It's not gay if it's a joke. His sister's quince happens in July. The fact that she's having one at all is a miracle. Their parents can barely afford their Christmas gifts, one each, always sale rack. let alone a celebration that involves food, guests, and a dress that fits. His sister screams tears when she hears the news. A real quince is all she wants, having already secretly edited the playlist, named her damas and chambelanes, and sketched ideas for dresses from bridal magazines, knowing full well the actual dress will be rented. Family from Mexico is coming for the quince. He's never met his family in Mexico, although he's spoken to his grandparents on the phone and seen photos of his cousins on their ranch. He goes with his parents to the Mexican consulate as they arrange the family's visit. It's his mother's idea to go to the one in San Francisco. They can make a day trip out of it. After all, she's been living in California for 20 years and has yet to see the Golden Gate Bridge in person. By the time they arrive in San Francisco and drive across the bridge, it's too foggy to see any more of the landmark than what's directly around their van. But his mother is still in awe. She may not see the bridge, but she knows it supported them firmly. Como Dios, she says with a smile as she rolls down the window and breathes in the salty Pacific air. Thank you.
Thank you. That was fantastic. And again, if you want to read more of Jamin's work, he was published in volume 8, and you probably could still get another copy of it. Yeah, go volume 8 from the Image Out office. So do contact one of us if you are interested in picking up one of our previous volumes, because we do still have some copies of volume 8 from last year. Thank you, Jamin. Our next reader, Sari Katharyn, was actually published in volume 7, and she's going to read tonight from her work, A Rumbling Earth. Sari is an aspiring filmmaker currently studying film production in the United Kingdom. She'll be reading an excerpt from the first short story of hers that ever got published, thanks to ImageOutWrite. Welcome, Sari.
Thank you so much. Okay, so as mentioned, this is an excerpt. It's the beginning of the short story. And yeah, here it goes. My wife rumbles now in her sleep. The first night it happened, it made me think of something earthy, as though the rhythm was emerging from somewhere deep inside her. I turned my face towards her and glimpsed her soft profile in the dim light. Even in sleep, she looked exhausted, with the blankets pulled around her waist. Because of the hot flashes, she explained when I asked her about it. I thought about reaching out and touching the round swell of her as it rose and fell, just to feel again which parts were smooth or stretched, firm or soft, or flabby, as she corrects me most mornings, poking at the offending areas, or to chance the occasional jab of an elbow or strike of a knee. You will feel her kicking less now, the obstetrician advised us just the previous week before turning to give me a pointed look. You can interact with her more if you like. The next time there's a protrusion, you can try pressing gently at it. If she's up to it, she may respond by pushing back. Protrusion? I asked, imagining something grotesque like alien. Yes, it's usually a knee or foot or elbow. There were no obvious protrusions in that first night of rumbles, but if I watched long enough, a limb would have probably presented itself. She's more active in the evenings, my wife announced to me a few weeks ago, sometime early in the second trimester, when she recognized the bouts of fluttering for the weak kicks that they were. Here, she pulled me closer by the hand, planting it against the solid curve of her belly. She was just right here. Do you feel anything? We both waited. For a moment, I even held my breath. But whatever it was she expected me to feel, I didn't. Come on, baby, she crooned, using my hand to rub her stomach. Maybe she wants to hear your voice. But what do I even say? I asked, my voice a weak protest. I've never said anything to her. How do I make the words count? Don't think about that. What do you want to say? Her deep rumbles change, sinking into a deeper register until she sounds more like a power tool than a human, strong enough to derail my train of thought. Snoring during pregnancy is common, the obstetrician promised, after I called on the morning after that first night to ask if this was something I needed to be worried about. Around a third of expecting women experience it. Let me know if it causes sleep disruptions. Usually the rumbles were rhythmic and easy enough to fall asleep to, but on rare occasions like tonight, it's loud enough for the sleeping cat at my feet to rear up, wide eyes glowing green in the dark. Max pads over me until he arrives at my wife's belly and rubs at it with his head before settling back down, arms spread around it. He's protective, my wife said. The first time it happened, she was so pleased. Our babies are getting along, she purred, while I gave the cat my best stink eye. Even now, I'm tempted to hiss at Max to back off. It should be my arms around her, not yours. That's my baby. Or is it? The voice of doubt, as always, sounds like my dad, gruff and low and unapologetic. Do you know who the father is? He asked, a few days after we finally broke the news to him. It would have been one thing if he asked to be hurtful, but it was another entirely that he asked earnestly. This kind of misplaced earnestness was one of the reasons it took me weeks to admit that it was time to tell my parents. Why can't they just find out when our kid turns 18? I whined to Lee, to which she replied, taking your sweet time will only make it harder. But when they finally found out, their reaction seemed so overwhelmingly positive, my initial hesitation felt like a minor injustice. Then my mom began to gush with pregnancy questions for my wife, and my dad raised his voice to drown her out. Wait. Did Lee's parents already know? The power tool rumbles become louder still as Lee shifts closer to me in her sleep, temporarily dislodging Max, forcing him to retract his arms. Ha! I think, while admiring how the outline of their shared landscape adjusts with the movement. Max turns his glowing eyes in my direction, but I ignore him and focus on the way Lee's sleep shirt rides up her belly. In that newly visible patch of skin, I suddenly see it. A strong, firm push against the elastic inner wall of my wife's belly, the emphatic protrusion of the foot, or knee, or elbow, angled almost definitely towards me. I almost gasped out loud at the sight. Not grotesque, as I imagined, only slightly strange and strangely affirming, as if I needed more proof, despite the sonograms and early kicks and hiccups, that there was really someone in there. As I stare, the protrusion slides from one side to the other, like a caress or a demand. It lingers for a moment before disappearing. I don't dare move, as though doing so would frighten her away. But when another protrusion becomes visible, pushing the area near Lee's belly button outwards, she's trying to get out, I muse to myself. I hear myself whisper, peekaboo, little Miss Earth, I see you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Sari. That was beautiful and so sweet how you capture that moment. I just love it so much. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and thanks for being here. All right, we have one more reader, and this is going to be a really special treat for you tonight. Allison L. Fradkin. She's going to be, let me explain. She's going to be sharing her piece, Lesbian Lipstick, published as, quote, Girl, You Know Its True Colors in Volume 7 of ImageOutWrite. Allison's bio is, hi, Allison. A lipstick lesbian with thespian tendencies, Allison Fradkin has a gay old time creating satirically scintillating sapphic stories for the stage and the page. Here in the video, an enthusiast of inclusivity and accessibility, she freelances for her hometown of Chicago as literary manager of Violet Surprise Theater, curating new plays by queer women, and as a dramatist for Special Gifts Theater, adapting scripts for actors of all abilities. Allison's going to explain the special event that we've got tonight with some extra guests who are going to be reading her work. So welcome, Allison. We're so excited with the program you've put together for us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So Lesbian Lipstick is directed by Iris Solat, who is also the co-artistic director of Violet Surprise Theater. Faith Lauren Stedham will be portraying the role of Chick Van Dyke. Terry Lynn Hudson will be playing Jodie Twatley. Sammy Jo Johnson will be playing Portia DeBossi, and Melanie DeRogatis will be playing Pearl Galen.
Cool. I'll get started with stage directions. It looks like I'm just gonna make sure the whole cast is here. I don't see Faye. Is Faye still here? Faye, can you wave at me if you're here? Oh, there you are. There they are. Okay. Cool. Lesbian Lipstick by Allison Fradkin. The setting is the home of Portia de Bossy. The time is a pleasant afternoon in the fall of 1989. At Rise, Chick Van Dyke is preparing products for a beauty demonstration party. The products come out of a case marked Very Gay Cosmetics.
Hello, friends. I'm your Vitamita Vajamin girl. Are you in?
Put down that biddle waddle this instant. You mustn't be grody, Jody. That's Vitamita Vegamin. I apologize for my lady friend's uncouth behavior.
Oh, think nothing of it. I'm sure she's just a little nervous about today. Not all of us are comfortable with the idea of something other than vajamin sitting on our faces. Are we, Miss Twatley?
It makes me feel like I'm hiding. There's a reason they call it concealer. Conceal her? I'd rather look straight at her.
But you always look so gay, sweetheart, and I love it.
Oh, and you know what's better than kissing? Kissing and making up. For that, I recommend our Ruby Fruit Jungle Red Lipstick for the lezzy who likes that wet lip look. Try to care some, Miss? Care to try some, Miss Bossy?
It's de Bossy, remember?
All right.
De Bossy-esque, and don't you forget it. Look, lady, can we move things along? We were supposed to start 10 minutes ago. Let's make like Lizzie Borden and chop chop.
Don't give Pearl the axe, Jody. We're expecting one more guest. Our friend Pearl Gailey, she tends towards tardiness.
Ah, well, when our late-in-life lesbian decides to make an appearance, I will do my best to improve her appearance. Until then, I will work with what I have. We'll make you cream for your face, give you the brush for your makeup case. If you're an LADYKE, you'll look better to the letter. You'll look spiffy in a jiffy. Beyond eye, shadow of a doubt. Gay calling. Hello, and welcome to a very gay product demonstration party. I am Chick Van Dyke, decorated beauty consultant. Now, why have you girls called me here this afternoon? Because ever since the passage of the Silly Les Better Fair Pay Act, not to be confused with the Lily Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, which won't be signed on the dotted line till 2009, 20 years in the future. The wage gap between the Sapphics and the Sodomites has closed! Well, not completely, but considerably. And as a result, we are no longer approaching another gay 90s. No, we are gearing up for a lesbian 90s. More importantly, you and I will have more disposable income to spend on such necessities as women. Not solicitously speaking, of course, and makeup to get the attention of women.
But if straight women use makeup to attract the opposite sex, shouldn't we do the opposite to attract the same sex? We are different after all.
You, Miss Twatley, are very binary. Just because we are different doesn't mean that we're not all the same. Furthermore, women beautify. It is tradition. And And because the Lesbetter legislation is still pretty recent, we have a lot of lost time and faces to make up for.
Does the Lesbetter only help lesbians? I mean, I'm a lesbian, so I never gave it much thought. It doesn't affect me, it benefits me.
Yeah, not all letters are created equal, you know. That's why we needed the legislation, because everyone always puts the G before the L, which doesn't suit us all to a T.
Inclusivity, it's implied. In theory, the law benefits all those who identify as women and who have survived any and all attempts at the heterosexualization of women. But if you insist on shaking things up, then I insist on making things up. Miss Twatley.
Are you going to make me into a paragon of femininity?
A paragon. Try an octagon. Let the application process begin with our waterproof mascara lashing out, which might cause a few eyes to wander right down to your lips, because who could gloss over our latest lip gloss? That's right, it's boy with an I, Zimberry Jam. It's made with real boysenberries. The original spelling, of course, among other things.
Like pride.
Oh, you've been reading our labels, haven't you?
Labels are not just for lesbians.
Right, you are, Mr. Bossy. You see, we at Very Gay Cosmetics not only take pride in our products, we put pride into them. So when you wear our makeup, your inner beauty comes out.
You are a miracle worker.
Well, I know. Thank you for putting your face in my hands. You know, we have a saying in the beauty business, make like a compact and click. And that's just what we did, didn't we?
I've got chills, they're beautifying. Sell me more, sell me more.
How much dough did she spend?
Oh, you needn't need to be frugal any longer. Silly Lesbetter, hello. You are sitting pretty now, which means that you can sit even prettier and pricier. Embrace your financial lesbian dependence, ladies.
Show me how to apply the lip gloss.
Oh, yes, certainly. First, you twist the cap until it is openly gay.
Well, don't let her demonstrate on another person, on another innocent lesbian.
My word, Pearl, you've always been head and shoulder pads above the rest of us when it comes to emoting, but what on earth has got you going on like Millennium and Still Magnolias?
That glamour scammer, that's what. Thanks to her, the only way to keep the waterworks at bay is with a dike.
Will I do? Please tell us what the trouble is, Pearl, so we can help you.
I can keep a straight face, that's what the trouble is. Look at it. Pretty soon I'll lose all my lovely laugh lines and have no redeeming features. I've already lost my lesbian tendencies and don't know where to find them. I thought the search would be over once I stopped using the very gay stuff, but no such luck. Exactly 1 month ago today, when I attended my first beauty consultation party, I made up my mind to make up my face with these products, and now I'm facing the consequences. Now I'm struggling with not same-sex attraction.
Let's not Katie languish in despair.
Quit your pearl clutching, would you? A fellow gal's diatom's disappeared, and it's up to us to figure out where it went. In fact, we are gonna bust this case wide open.
Oh, well, it isn't in there.
Holy fool in her rough! I can't believe this is happening again! Oh, where has my sapphic self gone? Oh, where can it be?
I've got it!
I knew it!
No. Where can it be? B! That is the letter that you're looking for. Miss Gailey, by admitting this is happening again, you're acknowledging that it's happened before. And well, if you will again, I'm afraid, yes, I'm afraid that the only part of you that's lesbian is the B-I in the middle. Even if you discontinued the usage of our products within hours of your first application, our makeup cannot change your makeup. Our products are simply not formulated to produce, induce, or reduce one's lesbianism. And just no matter how often you use our hydrating face mist, it would have been impossible for you to spray away the gay.
Well, I suppose that bisexual is a logical label, but I mean, well, what's expected of me? What are the bylaws? Does that Les Better Act still apply to me?
Absolutely. It stipulates only that you be ladyliking. It does not specify percentages.
Okay, that's one Les thing. Sorry, one fewer thing to worry about. What else? Do I come out of the closet or just a drawer? I can still be part of your world, can't I?
We've got more inclusivity than you can shake a lipstick at.
Good, great. Phew. Gosh, I wish I could see myself the way you see me. Not my own image, but a replica, a representation, you know? It would make me feel real. Hey, maybe I'll see myself on that new show, Family Matters. Its theme song as gays go by.
Days, dear, as in one of these days you will see yourself. In the meantime, you're still one of the family, Pearl, and that is all that matters.
That's right. You spell gaily with an I, you spell bi with an I, and you dot each I with a big ol' heart.
Well, aren't you the picture of parody? FYI, Miss Gailey, you can credit the cosmetics company for our role in the discovery of your bisexuality, but you cannot blame us for causing it. In addition, I must inform you that our makeup does not cover up pre-existing conditions. We're called very gay for a reason.
You, Miss Van Dyke, are very bi-wary. We have a saying for the beauty business: make like a looking glass and reflect. Because sometimes saying gay is no different than saying guys when you really mean girls or mixed company. Inclusivity is implied.
You said it.
Oh, no, I said it. And well, she's right.
So I can keep using your products. Oh, please, Miss Van Dyke, make me up before you go.
Well, my job is to help you not only realize, but to dramatize the phenomenal woman that you are on the inside. Even if that phenomenal woman happens to be less of a lesbian than I am, I suppose it doesn't mean that you're less than I am. After all, lesbianism is not a form of discrimination.
Well, in that case, let's see if there's something good in that case.
You know something, Ms. VD? We're real proud of you for conquering your bias. Hey, what do you say we do that company mantra cutesy chair thing you did earlier? Pearl missed it.
Oh, yeah. We'll make you cream for your face.
Give you the brush for your makeup case.
If you are L, G,
B, T, or Q,
You'll look better to the letter.
You'll look spiffy.
in a jiffy,
beyond eyeshadow of a doubt.
Gabe, I'm calling. Everybody, we'll make you cream for your face.
Give you the brush for your makeup case.
If you are LGBT or Q,
You'll look better to the letter.
You'll look spiffy.
in a jiffy,
beyond eyeshadow of a doubt.
Gabe, I'm calling. Oh, now, ladies, this is the Chick Van Dyke show, and it's my way.
or the byway.
Oh, precisely. Because this makeup maven is no longer an upstander. She's a bystander.
And that, like your lipstick, is totally tubular.
Curtain, end of play.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I hope, like me, all of our viewers were laughing and reminiscing over 80s music and all sorts of hilarious things. That was very tubular indeed. We really appreciate it. Yes. And Allison, thank you so much. I want to thank you for organizing this and welcoming the director and the actors and just spearheading that entire thing. So thank you all so much for adding so much joy and laughter to our Thursday evening and our first ImageOutWrite readout. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our very first installment of ImageOutWrite readout, which again, I want to remind you, we will have another one in a month on August 13th. I want to give a very heartfelt thank you to all of our writers who agreed to be here tonight and to share themselves and their work with us. So once again, round of applause for Mary Panke, Steve Farrington, Craig Kirsch, Jamin Favela, Sari Katharyn, and Allison Fradkin. I also want to give a hearty thank you to our incredible expressive interpreters, Allie, Fowee, and Spencer Rizzi. And thank you again to Jenny Werner, again, who I cannot thank enough for the amount of behind the scenes and incredible help she was during this whole process. She's tenacious and optimistic, and I really, really appreciate it, Jenny. So thank you. And again, to the entire ImageOut board for supporting ImageOutWrite and for supporting this readout series. Please keep an eye out for our upcoming publication of ImageOutWrite Volume 9, which will be coming out this fall. We will do these readouts between now and then, and I will keep you up to date on when that publication will be available. And again, we hope to see you on August 13th. So until then, everyone, keep reading and writing, and happy queer reading and writing. Thank you so much, and we appreciate your presence. Bye-bye, everybody.